right, so I'm calling the meeting to order at 7:31 p.m. with Dan and Mark. Great. And I forgot to put on the Pledge of Allegiance. So Dan,
Okay. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the
United
States
States of America,
to the republic
Republic
for which it stands, one nation, under God,
God, indivisible, liberty.
justice for all.
justice for all. Okay. All right, Kathlena, we have now two. Kathlena is muted.
I'm here. How are you?
Good, how are you?
I'm good.
All right, I don't see any members of the public, so we won't have public participation. The issue is the Warren School windows. We have been talking about this for a while, and Kathlena had a lot of opinions about them. Kathlena, tell us, from your perspective, your job is a builder? You're working
So I work
construction?
for a college right now who has a lot of historic properties on site. So we have to do our due diligence, and if the property is listed as historic, we have to go in front of the commission and present what materials we are using. Most recently, I actually did one with windows, and we in fact had to put in wood windows versus vinyl. Our funds come directly through the university to support projects like this. So my only question is, with the ARPA funds that were provided to, I believe it was the Public Works, I forget his name now, but
Yeah.
yeah. So did his funds come with some sort of guidelines, any restrictions, any specific detail on what that money should be used for? And did it say anything in regards to the property being historic itself? It almost felt like he was trying to go over your head by reaching out to the Historic Commission of the state. I do not feel that they would ever put any sort of demand on what they would want on something in Wakefield. I think that would come from a more local historic commission.
Well, actually, when federal funds are granted for a project, the Mass Historical Commission is supposed to weigh in on it and be able to give an opinion. So when that came up, I welcomed it because I thought, well, they're never going to agree to this. Plastic windows. This was something that we had not liked, and the community, the neighbors did not like it, and local architects didn't like it, and they were getting an awful lot of pushback. However, at the end of November, on a meeting, letter that I was not copied on, or we were not copied on, came from the Mass Historical Commission, from somebody named Joshua Doran, who's the preservation planner for the Mass Historical Commission. And I sent you that letter. I sent everybody that letter in that email with all kinds of attachments, saying that the building is individually listed on the National Register of Historic Places. The MHC understands that the project will be using ARPA funding, but will not be using or requiring any other state or federal funding, licenses, or permits. Please note that no review by this office is required. And so that's the end of that. So basically, even though we had tried to work this out as a kind of a phased development to use the funds available now to replace the some of the wooden windows, and that the town would commit to replacing the other ones on a phased kind of development thing. They do not seem to have the appetite for that. And the decision there is with the town council and the DPW. So we are allowed to give our choice of which one of these plastic windows we would like. and I sent you pictures of the two alternatives. You got them?
Yeah, we got 'em.
Yeah. So in my opinion, I think the second of the two is less undesirable than the first. The first provides a strong bar across the center or across toward the bottom of the window. And the other one does not. The second alternative allows the window to be opened up and down the way they would have been traditionally. The other one opens as a casement kind of thing. So the second one is more historically appropriate, in my opinion. What do you think?
I agree. If this is our only option at this point, number 2 looks most like what was there before, even though it was wood.
Dan, what?
Yeah, I would agree as well. But I know I was just rereading Kathleen's email. We never got the product information for those windows, did we?
No.
No, we didn't get anything.
Yeah.
Honestly, I'd like to even see the letter from ARPA, but I mean, at this point is what it is. I'm sure we're out of time.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, ARPA gave the town a whole block of money and the town could use it on whatever they wanted to use it
I
on.
see. Mhm.
So a lot of sidewalks and things like that were provided and
Yeah.
a lot of other projects. Dan?
Same reason. I agree with everybody.
Okay. Would you agree that for us it would be preferable to have the wooden window so I can make one last stand and write a letter to the town council and town administrator and the DPW head of buildings, Chris Pierce, copy to Joe Conway, copy to the town council and our representative on the town council, Bob Vincent. He is not here with us tonight because he has a town council meeting, saying that we would much prefer the wooden windows, and we would much prefer that they be done over time in order to preserve the historic integrity of the building. However, if we had to make a choice between the two options presented to us right now, it would be number 2.
I think some of those vinyl windows are pretty flimsy as it is.
Yeah, they in what I've seen, I have them at my shop and they're pretty terrible, but you don't know. And this is the option that we have. So can I have a motion to agree with that whole thing? Yeah.
I agree.
Okay. All in favor?
I'll second that.
Oh, second. Thank you, Dan. All in favor, we say aye,
Aye.
right?
Aye.
I
Okay. All right. Kathlena, I think you could be a valuable voice for us, and I'd love it if you chimed in on these issues in the future.
Yeah, for
Because-
sure. I'll even
yeah.
write something short to you before. When are you reaching out to them again?
I've got to get back to them tomorrow.
Okay, I can send you something in the morning if that works.
Okay, I think that
Okay,
would
just
be
a
great.
quick little thought I had, but we'll see.
Okay, all right. Well, thank you very much.
Mhm.
And we will now move on to the proposed zoning changes. I'm sure everybody's aware of the MBTA overlay district that was approved by town meeting ultimately after a lot of after it was initially turned down, and then a new committee formed to take a look at it again and had a multitude of meetings, and established a new proposed district. We have had a letter from the bylaw review committee letting us know, along with all kinds of other departments in the town, letting us know that they're kind of codifying the language of it and going over the language and putting it forward to the planning board to carry the ball from to the finish. The new proposed districts are a lot better than the old one was. The old one really could have been detrimental to the poor west side where I live, but also to Avon Street, Church Street, Yale Avenue, and other historic streets, very historic streets within the town that have a lot of buildings that are either considered significant or on the National Register of Historic Places or in our districts, our National Register districts. So this one, where we're most vulnerable is on that one part of Albion Street between Main Street and North Avenue. On that a little stretch, one of those buildings is on the National Register. Believe it or not, it's the item building. How about that? There are two other National Register houses that are further down Albion Street, and I don't think they're in this district, but there are a number of what we consider significant sites that are covered with our demolition delay bylaw. And they are 13 to 15 Albion, 18 to 20, 24, 45, and 63. And one of those is an 18th century building, which has undergone a lot of changes. It was a home of one of the Wileys, and it is toward the beginning. I'll send you a picture of it. And our issue is, are these buildings covered by our demolition delay bylaw? Or does this overlay district trump the bylaw? And we really need to get an answer to that. And so I would like to propose that we bring those properties to the attention of the bylaw review committee and ask town council for an opinion on it. I think that's the only thing we can do. There's a lot of wording in here about design guidelines and things like that. So we need to know what kind of control we will have over these specific properties and of other properties or districts that might be deemed historic that might have a little sliver of itself in this overlay district. Are you on board with that?
Yeah.
I'm just at the overlay district is state mandated
Yeah,
and demolition bylaw is a town bylaw.
exactly.
So wouldn't state overrule all the time?
That's the thing. We don't know. And so the way to find out, I think, really is from town council. And if it does not overrule it, I want to know what avenues are open to us to pursue.
Yes, there must be other towns with the same, problems.
I imagine there will be. My son actually lives in Holbrook, and was on a committee that was working to. He had the black hat on. He was trying to get them to approve the the overlay district. But anyway, yeah, I think a lot of communities are kind of in the same pickle. This is so much better than it was before, but I think we're losing ground by inches all the time. And the new, the changes to the demolition delay bylaw, which has people apply directly to the building inspector, and he tells them they have to wait 6 months to get their permission to tear the building down unless they want to pay a fee for a public meeting with us. So far as that has gone into effect, we have not received one word from the building inspector. And I suspect that he has gotten petitions or applications to tear down buildings. We don't know about them. And I'm not comfortable with that either. And I don't know if that will require a change to that bylaw in the future. But these are all things that I would like to ask town council and the bylaw review committee about in a letter from the historical commission. What do you think?
I think that's a good idea. It'll be interesting to hear from the town council on this matter.
Yeah, I think it's our only avenue, really.
Mhm.
Some of Greenwood is affected by this. Is it in your area, Mark?
Yeah, I'm in Greenwood.
Yeah, but are you certainly not the church, the Greenwood Union Church?
Right.
That certainly wouldn't be affected. And I don't know that there are other areas in Greenwood that would be affected.
Yeah, I'm not. I mean, I'm in a newer section of Greenwood, if there
Okay,
is such a thing. But yeah, some of the streets beyond me, yeah, they could be affected.
yeah.
Well,
So it's worth
not-
looking.
I think the Highlands Railroad Station cuts into Wakefield a little. And that would be part of it.
Yeah. That's also a good point. So I'm going to have to sit down with a map and really look at all of those addresses to see which might apply to us. But the first step is to contact town council about that. Okay?
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, good.
Let me ask the question, would something like the railroad depot still be under that? Or it's been taken over by a private,
Um,
is that a historic?
I think it definitely is. That would be on North Avenue, so I definitely think that it would. It's unlikely that they're going to build housing on that little strip, though.
One never knows.
You never know. Unless
They
they
built
take,
high school on a rock ledge.
unless they want to take down St. Joe's behind them. I think it would be kind of rough to do that, but that is a good point. So we'll get clarification from town council. Okay. Good. We'll move on now to compliance issues. This has to do with Shaw's. Okay. A long time ago, some 20 years ago, Shaw's supermarkets wanted to come to town. They bought the old, what was called Roby property, which was the last surviving bit of the original 11-acre site of the Wakefield Rattan Company. And they wanted to take it down and build a supermarket. Because that was such a big part of Wakefield's history, the Board of Appeals, in order to allow them, they put a number of conditions on them in order to allow them to have the permissions that they needed to proceed with building the supermarket. And one of them was to get it here. One of them was to provide a display First, they had to document via photographs and architectural drawings the site, and then they had to and collect any artifacts that they might have uncovered during this process, which apparently there were none because we never saw any. And then they had to, within reasonable locations and space within Shaw's supermarket, had to be a space that was provided and designated to display artifacts, photographs, and a little history of the building that had gone down, or the Wakefield Rattan Company. That was it. They had to do this. And if they had to close the building, they had to give all that display material to us. They didn't have to close the building. But a young man went to, I think he's a young man. I got emails from him, went to the Shaw's supermarket and looked all over the place and couldn't find any sign of any kind of historical display. And then Mark went. Mark, what did you find?
Not much. I mean, I scoured that market for a good hour. Unless there's something hidden behind a coin machine or something up front or in a back room. I know I've worked in stores before and we've had old pictures, not like this, but we've had pictures before. We posted them in break rooms or in offices. I think I mentioned in my email above the cash registers where there's a catwalk. There were some old pictures up there that I could see from down below, but whether they were, from the time we're talking about or recent, I couldn't tell. They looked like they were black and white pictures, but I don't know what they were.
Well,
I think they were supposed to be on the second floor somehow. That's probably that catwalk you're talking about.
well,
it's above the cash registers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And not really visible to the public.
Correct.
Right. I had my husband go over there and look around also, and he didn't see anything, but our young reporter, or citizen who really was involved in this process, found a set of stairs, which he walked up, and he found what looked like it might have been a display on the second floor in an area that is not open to the public. I went to the building inspector with this issue and asked him to look into it. It seems that he did not. He got wound up with the language and he's thinking about artifacts and things like that. What we want to remind people of what was there before with the display that they had furnished originally. Originally, it was there. I saw it. I went on a tour of the facility when it first opened, and then I have not set foot in there since because, it was a historic building and it's gone. Anyway, I would
Nancy,
like
when you went out, when you did when you did the visit, was that when the supermarket was open?
Yeah, it was at the grand opening when I actually worked for the Chamber of Commerce at the time. And so I went with the whole Chamber of Commerce walking through, and we certainly did see it at the time.
You don't remember where it was?
Well, it was at the front of the store.
The front, yeah.
Originally, I had offered to help them assemble, or even get a loan of some historical artifacts, chairs or a baby carriage or something that they could borrow from the Historical Society or something, or we would have furnished them with all kinds of pictures or maps or whatever. And they did not take us up on any of that. However, they did come up with something that at least satisfied the bylaw. Right now, I don't believe that the bylaw is being, or not the bylaw, but the agreement is being honored by Shaw's, and I want to have your opinion if I could enlarge my letter to town council to ask him whether this exhibit, which can only be seen by Shaw's employees, is in compliance with the agreement that they made with the Board of Appeals.
Is it something we could just ask like a store manager? Somebody that works in the store, one of the managers, they must know whether it's there or not.
Well, the thing is, we probably could do that, but we need to know what avenues are there for us. If indeed they are not in compliance with within the four corners of their agreement, who knows how long this has been? They just need to get the display case and move it downstairs. Pretty simple.
Yep. Yep.
Dan, you look skeptical.
So all they need is wall space. And it's probably wall space down because there's like a set of restrooms, and then behind that is where the customer service is. And I think there's a wall space there that they could put something, even if it was just photos.
Yeah, but if they do, as this young man thought they did, if they have the actual original exhibit case upstairs, all they have to do is bring it down. And my husband had thought that there was quite a bit of space for them to be able to do that. I think we owe it to the community to make sure that we have this little remembrance of the Wakefield Rattan company.
Well, I know on the outside of the building, they still have one of the stars that used to hold the bricks in place, but
Yeah.
there's several different size stars.
Right. The masonry stars, yeah. I don't know if, I think they might have been not the original ones, but you can still buy them. I have bought them and sold them in my antique store, so I know you can.
I think
But
they were the originals, though. I think they did save those. I know I have some too.
oh, you do? Okay. I don't have any from the Shaw's, the original rattan company. I have a couple of bricks that I went and picked up and took to the Historical Society, but I don't have any stars. But I'm glad that you do, of all people. So, okay, can I ask town council about this? I think we need to know. And then he can have the building inspector go over and chat with the Shaw's people.
You know what I'd like to see, though, is even on the store on Main Street, the CVS, the new CVS. On the Armory Street side, they have pictures of old time Wakefield, but very blown up pictures. They've been there since day one. And I mean, just change something, or you really can't tell what they are. They're so blown up.
Oh. Well, I don't think we have any obligation to, that they have any obligation to do anything for us.
Well, I think they were trying to be historically right by putting something like that, in Wakefield. It's almost like Honeydew for a while had the fronts of their walls all in old pictures of Wakefield, which people like to look at, and
Yeah, and sure. And Harrington's, remember when it was Wakefield's restaurant?
Yeah.
Was loaded with old photo. Well, they actually weren't old, but they were copies of old pictures. Anyway, so I think we need to find out about this. So I would like to ask town council about it, and he can give the building inspector a little nudge, and he can go over and find out about it, and maybe we can settle the issue. Because there is right now really very little left of everything that Cyrus Wakefield built and did in the town. The only remaining building owned by or built by Cyrus Wakefield is the Taylor Building. We call it the Taylor Building or the Wakefield Building, right on the corner of Lincoln Street and Main Street. It looked originally different. They took off the third floor.
Man's bad roofer.
It was a bad roof or a tax issue or something like that. I've heard various, but the building's in good shape. And it still looks good. But somewhere in town, it would be nice to have something dedicated to remembering Cyrus Wakefield.
How old is the old MLD or post office, whatever you want to call it? Is that historically?
Yeah, that's on our list. That must be one of the buildings that that is on our list. And certainly the town is not going to do anything to radically change that unless I wouldn't think so, not after all the money they've put into it to make it a arts center.
Well, also the building, the old Molise building, imagine is worth nothing. It's a wooden building that I don't know how old it is.
Yeah, and it had all those toxic waste or
And here the building beside it, Mystic
I-
Industries, that was just sold.
yeah,
And what is it? The next building now where old Blanchett's was
right.
renovated.
So I think we're going to see a lot of changes, right, going down the street and from working in the AmeriCal as I did for about 10 to 12 years. Wow, the businesses right across the street from the AmeriCal really had a tough time surviving. I really don't know why. A whole variety of little businesses would pop up and then they'd be so hopeful and so happy, and then all of a sudden they'd fizzle up and die. So possibly, I mean, they're probably going to take most of those older buildings down. They are not on our protected list, however. Okay,
I think the Mystic building, they're gonna make into a archery center or something for a while until they decide what to do with it, maybe a year or so.
well, that's all good news. You know, any use for it is better than having it empty, and the poor Molise building has been now empty for so long.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that was a thriving building for a long time.
That was my first job, was in there. The
What-
job ordered out,
Was
Make-
it,
tree tinsel.
oh, yeah. Well, there's been interest in that recently. I've gotten a couple of emails from people wanting to know more about it. Unfortunately, it's not something that I really know anything about. I should refer them to you, Dan.
One of the longest owned building. I think it was bought in like 1936 by the same people that owned it.
Really?
Yeah.
Hmm.
So somebody had put in a question about what is the longest active building in Wakefield under the same title. Would probably be one of the banks, but
I think it might be the item.
Yeah.
I mean, the item has been in its present location since it was built. So that's just, off the top of my head, opinion, but anyway. All right, so I will contact town council on that just to find out what's going on with that, and I can let our the young person know, the young man who has been very anxious about this, and maybe we can kind of put in the back of our mind, maybe at some point putting an interpretive marker somewhere that would recognize what Cyrus Wakefield had built and what was taken down. I had looked into what those kinds of things cost if they're done well. And that's way outside the scope of our budget, unfortunately. I asked my daughter about it. My daughter is um, works for a historical society in Newport. She says, "Oh, they're cheap." I said, "What do you mean by cheap?" She said, $3,200. It's nothing. I'm like, "Well, maybe in Newport it's nothing." But here in good old Wakefield, it's, it's, we can't go there. But anyway, are there any, oh, the Civil War Monument rededication. I just put this on here to let you know that the date that I had originally given you has changed. The rededication will now be on May 31st from 1 o'clock to 4 o'clock p.m. So write that in your calendars. When it's going to be quite a thing. There have been a couple of meetings for it. It's under the town councilor Bob Vincent and Steve Mayo, the town administrator. School department is very involved, which is wonderful because a lot of the AP history students are getting involved in it too. So I think it's going to be quite a thing. And even the Historical Society and the Hartshorn House will be open with little displays honoring Civil War and everything having to do with it. So change your calendar, May 31st. It's a Saturday. Okay, and now under matters not anticipated. That's the way you say other matters now in agenda speak. I had done minutes for the meeting, but I neglected to put them on the agenda. And so that means we can't accept the minutes of the last meeting, which I don't think is the end of the world. We can do that next time. But if you have, after you've read them over, if you have any comments or you want me to change them in any way, let me know. I read other people's minutes and they're like 5 sentences long and I like write a novel. So I should probably trim them down, but it's a narrative anyway. Any other thing that anybody wants to bring up?
Yeah, one thing that would be the white picket fence in the old burying ground.
Yeah,
Continue on with that and do the rest of it up towards the church, or
that's what I had thought they were going to do. However, they have not as yet done it. You want me to ask the engineer about that?
I can ask him, yeah.
Okay, you can ask him. Good.
I'll hit him on another group or another committee anyway.
Okay, hit him. I think he is not one of the most popular guys in town now that he has done that bike lane thing on North Avenue, but that's his job. And I did see the notice of the AmeriCal flag that Bob Vincent gave to the AmeriCal Civic Center. I was on the board of the AmeriCal for about 5 years prior to the town taking it over altogether. And that was something that we had always hoped to do, but we never had the money for it because we were paying the heat, which was astronomical, you can imagine.
Well, when they get the solar panels in there, they'll pay for it.
Well, the Historical Society has a whole volume of information, a lot of information about the AmeriCal division. So it's a shame that they couldn't have kind of involved other groups that could have given them more info or more pictures or whatever, but I'm sure it's very nice. Is it Dan? No, okay. All right, we're getting late in the meeting, so does anybody have anything else?
No.
Nope.
Okay, then I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Second,
Second.
all in favor, and have a happy holiday.
As well.
And
Thank you, you too.
please remember, when I send you an email, please answer me. So, that would be nice, because it's very difficult to kind of get a meeting together when I don't know if people can make it. So
Mhm.
please keep an eye out for that, probably in January. Okay? So Merry Christmas, everybody. I hope you have a great holiday.
Thank you too. Thank you. Merry
Bye-bye.
Christmas.